We're just hanging out with lovely Saturn using a 2.5 lens. And also a 0.6 moon filter, so that way it drops down the brightness for you guys. But this is lovely Saturn coming to you live from Columbus, Ohio. It's a little bit chilly out, but we've got excellent clear skies. Now, all that movement that you see of Saturn going across our view, that is all of Earth's movement as we're moving and turning underneath the skies. Saturn's visible rings stretch over 175,000 miles. But they are very thin, less than 1 mile in width. But just us and lovely Saturn. It's a great little view tonight. If you happen to be able to step outside and view for yourself, Saturn is the bright yellow dot. It is the brightest one in the sky in southern skies. And it's quite high up there. It's not low on the horizon right now. It's actually pretty high up. Crisp views tonight. Hello. This is our live view of Saturn tonight, coming to you live from Columbus, Ohio. Now, as soon as it reaches the left-hand side of the viewing screen, I actually have to manually move my telescope in order to stay on it. If you happen to be somewhere where you can actually go outside and step outside and view the skies, it is in the southern skies, and it is that bright yellow dot. It is the brightest one in your southern skies. Saturn's rings stretch for 175,000 miles. They're less than 1 mile in depth. And Saturn is actually it is less dense than water. So if we had a bathtub big enough to hold Saturn, it would float. And Saturn has 274 moons as of last count. Coming to you live from Columbus, Ohio. Just us, the dark skies, and a beautiful view. Crispy tonight. It's nice to have clear views. Say hello. Here's a bigger view. We're using a 2.5 millimeter lens and a Dobsonian 10 for viewing. Now that adjustment going back to the right-hand side, that is me actually manually moving the telescope and trying to keep it on a pinhead. It takes very little for me to go too far. There we go. It'll come back here in a second. There we go. Saturn's rings stretch for 175,000 miles. Ah, not that far. Give it a second. There we go. It is currently at its highest point in our night sky, and that means that it's kind of going straight across, so that makes it easier for me to follow. That way I'm not having to adjust up or down just from side to side. This is using a Dobsonian 10 telescope and a 2.5 millimeter lens. I've got to stand up for a bit. That chair is just a little bit low. Oh, there's one of the moons. Let's see if I can drop back and catch one of the moons. No, it's not going to show up there. Oh, there's one. It's probably Titan. Titan is Saturn's largest moon, and it also has an atmosphere. Saturn was first viewed by Galileo in 1610. He looked at it and thought, does it have handles? He also wondered whether or not if there was two moons that were really close by or what was going on. He wasn't quite sure what he was looking at, and that was in 1610. Just really crispy views of Saturn tonight. Coming to you live from Columbus, Ohio. Saturn has 274 moons, and the rings stretch about 175,000 miles. But the rings are only about a mile in depth. The rings are made up mostly of ice and dust and small boulders. It's mostly, they believe that most of the rings are moons that have been destroyed from Saturn's high gravity. Just a crispy view of Saturn tonight. Saturn's not the only thing that's up. Let's go for a close-up view of the moon. This is the very edge of the Terminator. That is the shadow line that demarks the side where it is in shade and where it is in actually being lit up by the sun. Oh, look at that. A little blue star. There we go. See that long line and the crater that's below it? That is Rita crater or Rita crater, and just above it is Rita Valley. And that large crater with the smaller one inside of it, that is Janssen crater, Janssen. This is a very close-up view using a 2.5 millimeter lens of the moon. Right now we are viewing the lower southern highlands, which is pockmarked with tons of different craters. This is Clavius crater coming into the center of your screen. Looks like it's got 5 smaller craters on the inside that kind of make a half moon shape, kind of in a circle. And this one that is coming down into the center of your screen, it's a little bit lighter, kind of a perfect oval shape. That is Tycho crater, named after Tycho Brahe. Tycho Brahe was a famous astronomer from the 17th century. He he got into a fight with his cousin, and they got into a sword fight. And unfortunately, Tycho Brahe lost his nose, so he was forever known as the brass-nosed astronomer. And this is coming up on a view of the Sea of Tranquility. This is where the Apollo 11 landed. Now, up at the top of your screen, you'll see an area where it looks like a bright white dot. Looks like a mouth is getting ready to come down and eat it. See that tiny little bright dot that's in the center of your screen? Looks like a mouth is getting ready to come down and eat it. Whoops, not that far. That is Mulca Crater. And Mulca Crater is where Apollo 11 landed, and that's in the Sea of Tranquility. And then just above it, in that darkened little area, that is where Apollo 16 landed in the Southern Highlands. Hello, perennialist. How are you doing this evening? That smaller crater that's coming down from the top right-hand side, that is Madler. And then the one that is just above it that's large and has that high point in the center, that is Theophilus crater. And straight off to the upper right from Theophilus, that is Cant crater. And if you go across that valley and up a little bit, the very edge of that valley there, that is where Apollo 16 landed. Stop eating the moon. Not that far. There we go. Now we'll let it drift. It's very bright. It's a beautiful moon tonight, crisp and clear. These two craters coming down towards the comet section, that is Atlas, and then the one above it is Hercules crater. Now we're getting ready to go over the Caucasus Mountains, which are on the lower inside, and then just above it, that is the Apennine mountain range. See that weird little M that's in darker relief? Just to the left-hand side of that, at the lower side, that little area that's jutting into the Apennine Mountains, that's Hadley Rill. That's where Apollo 15 landed. I'll let you see that again. So at the upper right, do you see that weird dark shape that kind of looks like an M? The bottom side of that M on the left-hand side, that little area that's dark and jutting into the Apennine mountain range, that is Hadley Rill. That's where Apollo 15 landed. Not that big. There we go. Yeah, it gets clearer as the terminator line gets closer and closer. So, do you see this edge of the moon that's showing? You get far more relief and far more detail because you're able to see the shadows created by the moon, by the sun. So as that terminator line, which demarks the lit side and the night side of the moon, once that creeps across the surface of the moon, then you get, because everything is shaded and you can see the depth of the objects on the actual moon. Hey, Ultrafire, how you doing? So glad you like my shorts. This is the very edge of the moon. Look at how much detail that's there. Isn't that beautiful? Now we're looking at the southern highlands, and mind you that everything that you're looking at is flipped upside down and backwards, and that's due to the two mirrors that I have inside of my telescope. So it actually flips everything upside down and backwards. And when I post all of my videos, I have to flip that for you guys so that way it's properly what you would normally see in the night sky. So right now we are just cruising across and looking at our lovely moon. Oh, there's Clavius crater up there at the top. And we'll scooch it back over so that way it'll come across down into the center. That is Clavius crater. It's got the 5 craters that are smaller on the inside that kind of make that weird little dip shape. So that's Clavius. It's one of my favorites. Not that far. There we go. So that is Clavius dead center right now. I'm going to touch this up just a little bit and see if I can get... There we go. Sorry, gotta readjust. I don't mean to make you swimmy headed. Okay, so this crater that's coming down into the center of your view, that is Macrobius. And then this is, of course, the Sea of Tranquility. Coming straight down from the upper right-hand side, that really bright crater looks like a mouth is coming down to eat it. That is Moltke crater. Just off to the lower right-hand side of Moltke craters where Apollo 11 landed. Just a smidge. It's really crystal clear tonight. We're using a 2.5 millimeter lens. Can you guys hear me okay? Do I need to speak up? I try not to speak too loud because I'm in a neighborhood. So I don't want to wake everybody up. There's Plinius coming off to the right-hand side. It's the larger one. And that bright one coming down into the center, that is Menelaus crater. Those are high points in the center of those craters. When something smacks into the moon and creates a crater, then those areas in the center, there's no wind on the moon to actually move that and disperse that with wind. So it goes up and then comes straight back down. Ah, good. I'm glad you guys can hear me. I worry that sometimes I don't speak up loud enough, but I live in a condo community, so I'm always afraid that if I talk too loud, I'll end up waking up my neighbors. This one, this really bright, large one, that is Copernicus crater. It's really fuzzy right now because it's reflecting so much light around it. The fuller the moon, the less detail. We're kind of skating over just the very top edge of the moon right now. And the one that's coming down right now, that is Aristotle's crater. Stop eating the moon. So Aristotle's crater is that large one that's coming down into the middle of your screen, and just above it, that is Eudoxus crater. And this is the very edge of the Sea of Rains or the Sea of Showers. The large oval that is darker that's coming down from the right-hand side, that is Plato crater. And just above that, you'll see, and a little bit off to the right-hand side, you'll see a really straight range, and that's what it's called. It's called a straight range. It's a really tall range of relief off the top of the mountain, off just kind of like a straight range of mountains. And this backward sea, that is the Bay of Rainbows. And then another bright area, and then that next darker area that's coming down from the top hand side, that is the Bay of Dew. The Bay of Dew. Sorry for the creaky old chair. It's my daddy's chair from his old work store. It's how I keep him around a little bit. If you've been watching any of my videos, you've probably seen me comment, "Hey Dad, miss you." He's the one that started all this. When I was a kid, he used to, we used to sit out in the backyard and he would tell me about the moon and the stars. And that was our thing for many, many years. I remember as a kid, he woke us up and actually drove us out to BFE at the tri-state area in East Tennessee, so that way we could see the Milky Way. We were so little, and I had like one of those snow globe things, and it had the Milky Way in and behind it. And apparently, I don't remember this. I was really young, but apparently I looked at Dad and I said, "Snow globe?" And he didn't know what I meant, so he was like, "No, that's the Milky Way." And then later on, when we went home, I went and grabbed my snow globe to show him, and he was like, "My goodness, the kid's right." But yeah, that was the first time that I saw the Milky Way. I couldn't have been maybe 3 years old. Such a tiny little thing. I was obsessed with the stars and the moon. But I didn't pick any of this back up until after he passed away in 2014. And so when he passed away, I thought, what is something that we did together that I could do to celebrate him and his memory? And I got to thinking, and I was like, maybe I should pick back up on astronomy. So I got involved in it again, and then I started watching Dr. Becky Smithhurst. She is she's an astronomer based out of the UK, and watching her, I kind of got talked into getting a telescope. So I went and bought a Dobsonian 10, and I've got to tell you, the best gift I have ever bought for myself in my life because it's not something that I just enjoy by myself. It's something that I get to share my views with everyone. I mean, imagine the astronomers of old that were looking at things through their telescopes for the first time ever in their lives. And they were seeing all these wondrous things, but they were the only ones that were looking through their lens, except for maybe a few friends. But now we can actually share our views using technology. I mean, just imagine what Galileo or Kepler or Copernicus would have thought if they'd had this technology back then. If I could go steal one of them from the past and bring them here to right now, I think that they would just be like, can I just stay? Definitely a cool memory. I miss my dad. He was a great guy. Look at that. Look at all that relief. Now, Rita is the one that's below that dark line in the center. So that's Rita crater, and then that's Rita Valley just above it, that dark line that's in shadow. And now we're looking over the southern highlands. You guys want to go see Saturn? You want to go see Saturn? Let's go see Saturn. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. And not that far, you Egypt. Oh, there you are. Come here, you. That should be it. Oh. Nope. Maybe I zigged when I should have zagged. Aha. Now just let it creep across the view. There we are. Lovely Saturn. Its rings stretch for 175,000 miles. It has 274 moons. But the rings are only about a mile to a half a mile in depth. Crispy view. That bright little dot that just went off on the left-hand side, that was Titan Moon. It's definitely a crispy view. Got excellent skies tonight. Now all that movement, not that, that's me actually moving the telescope. But as it's drifting right now across our view, that is due to Earth's rotation. So all of that is due to us moving underneath the night skies. Now, interestingly enough, Saturn is actually less dense than water. So if we had a bathtub big enough to fit Saturn, it would actually float. Now it'll swing back into view. There we go. Sorry, trying to keep Saturn in view. It's like trying to keep a large barrel on point of a teeny tiny pinpoint. It's not easy. And right now it's also going down in our night skies. So I keep having to adjust it down just a little bit to keep it in view. There we go. There's a real crispy view. Love that. I'm also using a 2.5 millimeter lens, and I also threw on a 0.6 moon filter, so that way you could actually, it wouldn't be so bright. I've seen a lot of people online where it's just so bright it distorts it so much that you can't really see how thin the rings are right now. So I threw on that moon filter. It makes it a little bit fuzzy, but it allows for that really thin line of those rings. Now, earlier this year, it went behind the sun, and when it does that, the rings come edge on, and that means that the rings are facing us straight on. So during that period, it almost looks like the rings completely disappear. In fact, all you'll see is just a dark line through the center of the planet. You won't see the edge of the rings coming out from the sides of the planet at all. It just looks like a dark line going through the center of Saturn. And so right now we're coming out of that phase. And when it does that, we'll end up switching, because before we were looking at the northern hemisphere, and now we are starting to view the southern hemisphere. And that will last for the next about 14 years or so until it flips again. And it's not really flipping. Our perspective, our view of Saturn changes due to the angle of it in the sky compared to where we are. That bright little dot that's getting ready to go off the edge of the upper left-hand side, that was Titan. Titan is actually larger than Mercury, our planet Mercury. There it is. It's almost in the center going up to the upper left-hand side. Kind of blinks in and out of view. That tiny little dot is Titan moon. I so wish you guys were actually here, because viewing it on through a camera is not quite the same as what it is when you're viewing it with the naked eye. It's so often that I'm doing my lives and I'm like, dang it, I wish people were actually here, like at John Glenn Astronomy Park, where I do a lot of volunteer work, because during that time I'm actually able to, line up the telescope and say, hey, look through this. You can actually see it with your naked eye instead of trying to watch something on a camera screen. But this will have to do. But look at how crisp and clear those lines are right now. That's really nice. Did you go too far? Yeah, you did, just a little bit. There we go. Titan blinking. Thank you. I am very passionate. I thought that I would get bored with it, but it really and truly feeds my creativity and my mind for asking questions. I was a Don't get me wrong, I was a terrible student as a kid, drove all of my teachers absolutely bonkers. But as an adult, for some reason, now I'm soaking up stuff that I should have done when I was a kid. I think Mr. Henderson would actually approve of me now. Poor guy, I put him through the ringer. Him and Mr. Bennett. Okay, so now Titan, that tiny little dot, is now going almost through the center of your screen. See that tiny little dot that's making its way across? That's Titan. And most of the moons kind of go out in a straight line from the planets, so that's how you can tell them apart, because they kind of go along with the planet. Oh, I was a terrible student. What they didn't know back then was that, because of course I'm an old 80s kid. I was born in 77 on Halloween night. And they they didn't diagnose me back then, but I'm just an ADHD, you know, autism kid, and they didn't know. So when it came to acquiring my attention for anything was school related, unless it was something that I was passionate about learning about or something that I personally was interested in, you could not contain my attention. I had the attention span of a gnat. Oh, it was so bad. Would not do homework. Now, I would normally test pretty well, but when it came to doing homework, could not be bothered. If they had tested me on TV or the books that I read, I would have been a straight A student. But no, if it was something that, especially math, oh, I was terrible with math. Still am. I did end up going to college for 2 semesters, and my algebra teacher, bless her heart, she just looked at me and she was like, "You really don't understand this at all, do you?" And I was like, "It's not like I'm not trying." She tutored me. She did get me through basic algebra in college, but yeah, when it comes to math, my brain just ditch school to go surf. I ditched school to do other, well, bad things that I can't say. I was a bad old putty tat. I left early. I left home at 15. Drove my parents crazy. Actually lived in a park close by where I worked. I used my sister's ID in order to get a job. Almost cost her being able to go to college to get her school loans, because I had made so much money that I almost made it to where she couldn't get her school loans. So finally, I had to come clean to my boss. I was like, by the way, I just turned 16, but this isn't me. I've been using my sister's ID. And he was like, "We knew. I've I've known your sister, and you come into the store for however many years. I just didn't say anything." He was like, "I knew you were kind of roughing it." So he had kind of been keeping an eye out on me. So that was kind of nice of him. Here we go. Excellent crispy views. Look at that. Look at that. There we go. See all that fuzz around it? That is due to the filter that I've got on there. So you actually get a better view when I take it down. Sorry, my hands are so cold it doesn't want to read my fingers. I had that trouble last year. Oh God, the 90s. Man, the nostalgia is for real. I was born in 77. I was born the same year that Elvis croaked. It's hard to believe. I'm pushing 50. I don't feel 50. One of the kids that I babysat the other week, he asked me how old I was, 50, and he was like, "No, you're not. You're in your 30s." I was like, "Holy crap, kid! Tell me that when I'm in my 60s, and I'll really love you." Ye old fogey over here. I don't mind it. Did you lose it? Barely. Need some lip balm. Okay. I'm going to go get a drink because I'm getting kind of thirsty after talking so much. So I'm going to push this over and try to make it back. By Jove, she's got it. I love it when it works out like that. I try to be, especially for an old fogey. Of course, I am just straight out of my garage. I'm not too far into the driveway. What did I do with that little heater thingamabob connected to the thingamajigger next to the whatchamacallit? Dagnabbit, did you lose it again? Yep, you did. You're an idiot. What am I going to do with you? You'd lose your head if it wasn't attached. Okay, we're going to try this again. Ooh, almost lost it. I'm in Columbus, Ohio. Heidi ho, neighbor. All of my neighbors think I'm a Looney Tune. They'll drive out here and see me when it's negative 14 degrees and I'm out here catching views, and they're just like, "You're nuts." And I'm like, "I know." It's kind of like a familial trait. Definitely take after the Muncies. Look at that. Look at that. That's just gorgeous.